Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Johnny Sue is spinning on the ones and twos, and Eva and Boom Boom are in the studio. Hey, we're going to go push Brownie Boom Boom 2024. So if you're interested, that's Brownie and Boomer 2024. You can go to our friend's Instagram and see a picture of that beautiful Boomer. So we've been waiting a long time for him to do this show. A couple people were on earlier. Now we own the airwaves. It is ours. It belongs to us.
The airwaves don't belong to anyone, fam.
Right now, we're seizing the means of production. We're representing the workers the way we should, and we're going to shut it down unless they listen to independent media, unless they listen to the people, unless they get back to Congress, get their asses working, and give us 3 months, 90 days, freeze our rent, freeze our mortgages. It's something we're going to talk about through the upcoming weeks because, what's that song? It's the first of the month. That was like 5 days ago. So you got to write your letters, get them out there. It's got to be within 7 days. Go take a look online, find out what the laws are for your cities so that you don't get left out in the cold, literally, fam.
Literally, and I think we have to turn the power tables. Like we've been pretty much underneath for the longest time, and it's time people started realizing that you have the power to not pay your rent. You have the power to not work under these conditions. You have the power to demand hazard pay. You have the power to do a lot of things, even though we're in the middle of a pandemic. A lot of people are seeing their assets, their lives pretty much changed because of the lack of transparency in our government and the lack of effort, especially towards working and middle Americans. The middle class will decidedly shrink. It already has as a result of this pandemic. And if it wasn't small enough before, it's going to continue to get smaller because we're not giving the middle class enough help.
Yeah.
And without the middle class and the working class, you have nothing.
Yeah.
So.
And there was nothing in the CARE Act that protected us from our rents, from our mortgages. Okay, so the banks are going to get bigger again like they did in 2008 under TARP. So I really hope that Congress gets their ass back to Washington, D.C. and passes something right away. I would have liked to seen something beforehand. We can say about this whole system, it was messed up, the whole CARES Act, whatever the case may be. Let's just get them back there. Let's start to apply the pressure right now. And if they're not going to listen to us, it's striking time. That's it. We need to start striking. We need to start wielding our power. And we do have the power, fam. Seize the mean studio, right? That's where we're at. Let's seize the means. So your boy was on Bill Maher last night.
So Bernie Sanders, senator from Vermont, was on Bill Maher last night, and he answered a couple questions. Bill Maher, of course, has been, he likes Bernie, but he always treats him like he's not a plausibility. And Bill Maher asked him, what would you do as president? And Bernie Sanders answered him in his Bernie way.
And what would you do right now if you were the president?
This is exactly what I would do. The main point is that we have to prevent a breakdown in the entire system. That's how dangerous it is right now. It is much easier to maintain the system than to fix it after it is broken. What does that mean? From an economic point of view, it means that we tell every worker in America, you will continue to get your paycheck. We know you're not working. We know you're at home. You know your business that you're working for is not functioning. But guess what? We're going to do what the UK is doing, what Denmark is doing, what Norway is doing, what France is doing. You will continue to receive 100% of your paycheck. Number two, what we have got to do is guarantee that all people in America during the crisis get the health care they need without out-of-pocket expense. It is pretty crazy to say to people, as the last stimulus package did, that you can get your coronavirus test, government pays for that, but if you're sick and go to the hospital, you have to pay for that out of your own pocket. Number three, what we have to do is protect our healthcare system right now. We need to use the Defense Production Act to tell the private sector, who will be well compensated, they must produce the masks, the gowns, the gloves, the ventilators that the healthcare system requires. Also, if we're ever going to get back to normal, we're going to need a new level of testing that we have never seen before. And I think we can do it, but we have to invest in it so that it says to Bill Maher, Bill, you have been tested right now instantaneously. You are not spreading the virus. You are not going to be susceptible to the virus. you can go into a work environment with other people who are clean as well. So we need to invest very heavily in testing. We also need to provide substantial help to federal, to state and local governments, because they are running out of money. We have helped them in the last stimulus package. We've got to do more in the next stimulus package, which we are working on right now, because if the cops are not being paid, the EMT people are not being paid, you're going to have a breakdown in the system. And we have also got to protect.
Okay. We'll go back on the next part, but any comments on that?
Yeah, this is all that stuff that should have been worked out beforehand. You know what I'm saying? I'm so sorry, but it's a little bit too late right now. Now you don't have enough leverage as you did before the CARES Act got through. We also mentioned in that bill, the CARES Act, Mr. Brad Sherman, who, once again, not a big fan of his, a guy who kind of votes for the Patriot Act, but he talked about the lack of money that was in that bill for research. A big lack of money. I mean, you need to put you're a TV doctor. You know damn well there should have been a lot more money for the vaccine in that. That's what we need, right? Cures, work, testing, the whole 9 yards. They shortchanged that bill. Plus, they also changed the workers in the bill too as well. So yes, that is my opinion. It's like it's and I'll hand it over to you, but it's just a difficult position to now negotiate from now that this is passed, because Wall Street already got what they wanted.
Wall Street already got what they wanted, but that's the thing. They were always going to get what they wanted because we're under a system where they run our country. Unfortunately, our country is a corporation. Our country is an oligarchy. They run it. They were always going to get what they wanted. I don't think it was possible to put all of this in one bill. I don't think that was ever going to be the case. I said it a few days ago when we were talking about the stimulus package. There'll probably be another one because there's no way that this is going to suffice with what they've given us. And so, I mean, I agree with Shahid on that point where I feel like there's only so much they could do within the system that they're in. It is going to take people to push people like Bernie and everybody else because he's on your side, but he's one person. The squad are 4 people. Like there's really not much you can do. We need to literally, like Pasta said, strike. We need to take it into our own hands because there's only so much these representatives can do. They obviously, I still think they have leverage as far as the public outcry right now. People are unhappy. People aren't getting the things that they need to get, and that is going to drive people to do things that they didn't do before, to be focused on things that they weren't focused on before, and that in itself is driving it. But he did mention making sure that people are covered at least during this time. He did mention that there needs to obviously be more towards people, that people need to, the working classes needs to be addressed. And that's the thing. I don't see anybody else out there going on and talking about how we're going to do this at all. Like, I don't see anybody else going to bat for the working class, really.
But here's the thing. Let's talk about this right now because they didn't seize the moment. You have to seize the moment. How would you have proceeded if you were? I'm going to tell you exactly what I've done. I would have planted my flag in the ground and say we're not going to pass any type of bill until we pass a bailout that's acceptable to the workers, and that includes covering their rent and their mortgages.
Okay.
After 2008 and TARP happened, we can never let this happen again. This is something that Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, that's what their whole presidency was about, or their whole, their senatorial run was about, being anti-Wall Street. You have to seize the moment. If there's any time to seize the moment and make our revolution a real revolution, there has to come a time when we say, Wall Street, you're not going to get what you want because we're not going to vote for it. And if you vote and pass it through, we're going to stand against the grain and we're going to let you know. And next time we'll be there. And guess what that would have done? It would have made a real revolution possible. We could be striking right now. We could be
people are striking.
No, we have to get together. And this man has to call for it. It's a shame.
Seems you're blaming everything on him.
Not everything on him. The squad, Tulsi. Let me tell you something, Miss Congresswoman. Appreciate your work, but you were a little bit too aloha about this bill. There are people out there who say that you are great on foreign policy, but you're not great on domestic policy. Well, this was your opportunity to answer that bell and put your flag in the ground and said, no, this is not good. Wall Street got way too much money, and we're not in the business of bailing out Wall Street in the middle of the coronavirus. Now, rent is due, and we don't know what the hell's going on. Nobody seized on this moment anymore, and I understand when their ideology is there. But we got to turn that ideology into policy making. And what happened in the House on the floor and what happened in the Senate was a frigging joke.
But you're by yourself. What can you do by yourself? I'm literally asking
I just told you. Say I'm not. I told you this
you're
before.
one person.
No, 2 people should have done this.
Warren was never going to do it. That bill should have
been 94-2. But if it's 95-1, guess who's the one person who's going to sit there and say, hey, he's not going to vote. He's not going to vote to bail out Wall Street. Why did he have to put his name on that bill when it was going to pass anyways?
Yeah, but I just feel like it was going to pass anyways.
So then don't put your name on the bill and make that stand.
You have to put your name on the bill if you have a provision in there. We've talked about it. Tulsi's done it before, where there's a provision they want, and that's what they're voting for. And unfortunately, it's a shit bill. I mean, I'm not minimizing how shit of a bill it is. What I am saying is the problem here is the system. And until you overthrow that system, there is only so much these people in power can do.
But don't you have to make a move to start to really overthrow that system? If there's any time now.
It will not come from the top.
From Jersey, people, they would call this ham because they love their tailor-made ham.
Revolutions
this is tailor-made.
Don't come from the top, though.
You have the workers. You seize the means.
Yeah, the workers
But
do.
it's not coming from the top. We're on the bottom. We're ready. We're mobilized.
You're not.
You're representing us in Congress as lawmakers.
Sure.
Then go and represent the people.
Sure.
Say no. And I'm not just talking about Bernie Sanders. I talk about Tulsi Gabbard. I talked about the squad. Here's the problem with the left. They don't know how to seize power. Okay? They're too piggy. Remember Piggy? Lord of the Flies? Really nice, really smart. Got a lot of things going on. You got to seize power. You got to put your flag in the ground and say enough is enough. I'm not going to stand behind Wall Street again, especially in 2008, fam, when they threw so many people out of their homes. Well, guess what's going to happen? It's going to happen again. I spoke to lawyers today about housing. We spoke to John Noddy today about what happened. They're doing it again.
Of course they are. But they got away with it the first time, didn't they? So of course they're going to try to do it again. That's the whole point. What I mean by it has to come from the bottom up is that Bernie Sanders isn't going to be the one to do it. It's going to be everybody else. These Congress people are politicians. Electoral politics is frustrating because it doesn't work the way activists on the ground want it to work. And you have to understand how electoral politics works, or you're just going to be ranting and screaming and nothing's going to get done. If you want things to get done, it has to be outside of the electoral world. Simultaneously, the electoral world will do what the electoral world does. But you have to create these movements outside of it.
Yeah, but
Kshama Sawant is one of these people that has managed to do a breakthrough of that. And she has managed to mobilize things because she understands how to get things through the electorate and understands how to work things on the ground. And that is a very, very rare gift to have. Not everybody has that.
But there are movements in Congress like the Freedom Caucus on the right where they drove Boehner and Ryan crazy because they would not move. They wouldn't budge on stupid things. They would tell the Republican establishment, hey, guess what? We're not going to vote on your stupid shit. And they changed that party
because the Republicans came together.
Okay, but see, that's what I'm saying on the left. And here's the
because
most important thing.
they're all Republicans except a few.
Well, no, here's the problem too as well. The Democratic Party is always okay by the rules of the Speaker and the head of the Senate, the leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer. And those are the two most dangerous people. It's time, at this point right now, when Nancy Pelosi took that bill and kicked it out of the House and sent it to the Senate so they can negotiate it without the squad or any progressives getting their hands on it, it's time to call out the Democratic Party leaders for who they are. I've said this before. Shahid said it the other day. It's more important that we get rid of Nancy Pelosi than we get rid of Donald Trump. She is complete awfulness. And I don't see any sign of the left doing what the Freedom Caucus did on the right.
Because they're not the left. They're the center. They're the center right. That's the thing. We don't have a left representation in Congress.
The Democrats. But I'm saying the Democrats, they have to do to the Democrats what the Freedom Caucus did to the Republicans.
Yeah, so there's not enough of them in the electorate is what I'm saying.
You make a stance on it now. You make a stance on it. You don't go along with it.
No, I agree.
I don't want Tulsi Gabbard telling me there's a lot of great things in the bill and stuff. I get it. I understand we got to get through this as people.
People were also asking them to finally figure something out because they needed something too. I mean, I'm not saying I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here because I agree with you, but I'm also saying there's a position that politicians take and there are things that we as a people can do, and we are the ones that have to regain our power. Seize the means of production means you are in control, not the politicians. You don't wait for them to act. You act, and then if they don't follow, they're done.
And that's what it should be. Right now.
That's what
He
should
should
be
be
happening.
calling for rent
He's
strikes right
supporting
now.
of them.
He should be calling for them.
He should be leading
there
them.
Are people. Yes, he should be. That's exactly
But
what he should be doing.
that's the thing. But that's the thing. He is not the revolutionary. Bernie Sanders is more of a reformist than a revolutionary, and I've said it in multiple videos of mine. He's the guy that in the 60s was fighting for a revolution of that time. That time has ended. This is a new type of class warfare now. We are at a breaking point where, like he says, things are going to fall apart, and it's easier to fix it now than wait for it to fall apart to fix it. He's entirely right. But I don't think you can fix it anymore, Bernie. I don't think you can fix it. I don't think you can save it anymore. Fixing it means saving the Democratic Party. We can't save the Democratic Party. We're done with the Democratic Party.
Isn't that the biggest message?
Absolutely
it's
done
like,
with the Democratic Party.
You know what I'm saying? You're not going to reform within that party. You're not going to do it. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have complete control of the Congress. They dictate what goes on, and that's that. The progressives have no say. They have very little say. But let me tell you this much. You better get it together. Because if we don't get it together, forget about it.
So
Get your ass back to D.C. Sorry.
So Bill Maher goes on to do the Bill Maher thing, pretty much saying, hey, people say you want to spend all this money. How are you going to pay for it? Can we just print more money? Can we just keep printing money? And I love that he said that.
100% of your paycheck. The criticism of you has often been that you are promising money that the government could not possibly come up with. How long can the government do that? How can we just keep printing money? Isn't that a recipe for economic disaster down the road?
Well, I think, Bill, by not preventing a crisis, you end up saving money and easing a whole lot of pain in this country. I don't think you have an alternative. We are looking at some 30 or 40 million people over a period of months, over a period maybe of 3-4 months, losing their jobs. And if we do not protect those people, you're going to see a collapse of the economy, and it will take us more money to put it back together. And what I'm suggesting, by the way, is largely what is already going on in the UK, Germany, Norway, Denmark, and other countries. So it's not a kind of a new idea. And by the way, we put that provision into the recent stimulus bill for 2 million workers in the airline industry. While the airline industry is virtually shut down, those workers will continue to get 100% of their paycheck and their health care, which is what we should be doing. So, Bill, I'm not suggesting to you that this is not an expensive proposition. I am suggesting to you that the alternative is worse.
And you know what? I agree with everything Bertie said. He could have gone further and said, you know what? We print out money. And I know he said it before, but we just gave trillions of dollars to these corporations. Like, I don't know about you, but we just gave trillions of dollars to these corporations. How dare you ask me if we can continue printing more money?
Yeah.
We constantly print more money when it comes to war, when it comes to corporations, but when it comes to the people, why aren't you asking me about the giant bailout that we gave to these corporations, Bill? That's what I would have done. Yeah. If I were him. Like that's what I would have done.
And here's something I got to point out. The Boeing and all these other airlines,
they're not going to abide by their word.
Well, no, even if they abide by the rule and pay all their staff, even if they do, they still got an obscene amount of more money than just the payroll alone.
They didn't ask for that.
They got it anyways.
Yeah.
No, they asked it on a phone call to Mnuchin and Trump and to freaking Schumer and Cuomo to say warm things up there to make sure we get that Scott-ole. Because they're getting a lot more. And why did CEOs make an obscene amount of money? Why did they get all this money? Again.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And I just want, the reason I'm talking about this is because I want everybody to see just how much he's getting attacked now, both from progressives and from the neoliberals. Because this is what happens when you're getting advised but from bad advising from these centrist advisors. Yeah. Because their centrists are never going to love you. They're never going to love you. He knows this. But the centrists are never going to change their mind. They were never going to vote for anybody that wasn't a centrist. It's everybody else. Yeah. The progressives that want you to put the gloves on and fight and take us down. And then there's people like Whoopi Goldberg, Whoopi Goldberg, who is just, I mean, I have no words. She's awful. Yeah. And the way she treated him and the way she talks to him is really hard to watch.
Yeah. And you should stop, they're going to treat you like a schmuck either way, Bernie. You know what I'm saying? That and let me tell you something. We know people close to the high up of the campaigns, Nico, the whole 9 yards. Not everybody feels that way in his campaign. Not everybody at the top of his campaign feels that way. It's just certain people within them, and you got to get rid of these peoples. You know who the schmucks are? The Jeff Weavers, the Chuck Rochas, the Fayez Shakurs, the Matt Dusses. You need to get rid of these people, and some of these idiots that are who are representing you, like John Cusack, Linda Sarsour, and now Josh Fox. Rid yourself of these idiots and surround yourself with strong, bold progressives who are going to encourage you and have your back in the fight. Not these neoliberals that are going to turn on you on the first second they get, Bernie.
And the point is that we see that. I mean, we see it. All of us. I'm a Bernie supporter and I see it. I see all the things. I know so many things. There's so many people that have had so many issues with this campaign, and it's not been a perfect campaign. And I'm not here to tear it apart because there are good things that came out of it. But there are also things that literally completely have made it almost impossible for him to succeed. And I think, again, when that happens, you have to go back and listen to your roots, to your base and the people that got you here. So let's take a look at what Whoopi Goldberg said too, and I'll stop you.
Bernie,
The
on
View.
I have to ask you this question now because I've been watching to see what you were going to do. And I'm told that you intend to stay in this race for president because you believe there is a path to victory. I want to know what that path is because this feels a little bit like it did when you didn't come out when Hillary Clinton was clearly the person folks were going for. So can you explain why you're still in the race and what this path is that you see?
One of the reasons, that's not quite accurate. I worked as hard as I could for Hillary Clinton. But the reason there is a path
Bernie,
victory.
just so we're clear, you worked for Hillary, but it took you a very, very long time to hop in, and your people also. It took a very long time for them to hop in. So when I say that, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, I don't accept that characterization, but the point is, people have a right.
Why are you still in the race?
People have a right. Last I heard, people in a democracy have a right to vote, and they have a right to vote for the agenda that they think can work for America, especially in this very, very difficult moment. We are assessing our campaign, as a matter of fact, where we want to go forward. But people in a democracy do have a right to vote. And right now, in this unprecedented moment in American history, I think we need to have a very serious discussion about how we go forward. And one of the things that I am working on with other members of the Senate and Congress is a new stimulus package, which not only makes sure that all of our people in this crisis have health care, but also that they continue to receive their paycheck.
Can you stop it for a second? Okay. So
she won't let go, fam.
Well,
Same shit,
these
fam.
people are never gonna let go. That's
really
the thing.
bad.
They're awful. I mean, it like literally makes me want to like pull her hair out when I see that, because this is the thing about Bernie. You can get mad for him for a lot of things, but you can't get mad at him for being nice. I mean, he's just. If that were me,
I think that's why people are mad at him.
Yeah, it's like you can't say he's not nice.
Sorry.
That's what I mean. Like, you can't say the guy. I mean, if that were me, I would have fucking told her to fuck off. Like, within the first 5 seconds. She would not talk to me that way. But this is Bernie Sanders we're talking about. And first of all, he's a white man dealing with a black woman. You already know if he even as so much as did anything, they were going to throw that out there. I mean, they've done it time and time again. But the fact that she said, why haven't you dropped out yet? Like, when Hillary Clinton, first of all, this is why I wanted to point out the difference the whole time with this whole Hillary Clinton thing. Because he endorsed Hillary Clinton when she was already declared the nominee at the convention. And now she's saying you should have already dropped out and endorsed Biden because No, he says wait, I thought we lived in a democracy, which we don't, Bernie, by the way. We don't live in a democracy.
No.
Like, people still have the right to vote. Yeah, people still have the right to vote. The problem is people aren't being given this fair right, and we're going to go over what's happening in Wisconsin, because once you guys see what's happening in Wisconsin, you're going to be like, what the fuck? They're still doing this, and they're going to continue to do it until they can't anymore, until the race is over.
Yeah.
But Bernie Sanders needs to stay in the race. Why? Because just to piss people off like Whoopi Goldberg is fine with me. Just for that reason. Like, seriously.
So they can blame him for Donald Trump and said he stayed in too long. That's what's going to come anyways.
It's
They're going to blame him anyway,
They're
so you might as well just stay around if it's to piss people off.
Joe Biden, and what he says right now, we're in the middle of a pandemic, etc. He's right. Honestly, the reality, the world, COVID-19, all of this makes a case that Joe Biden is completely ineffectual as a president. It makes the case that you can't have that guy. Yeah. It really, like, now all it's going to take is Bernie Sanders to lead this movement. Maybe if he feels up for it, I don't know. But if not, his supporters are already online.
Yeah.
Saying they will.
We know what is
We're
right.
We're going to do it.
We know what is right. We know what needs to be done. I don't think it will be done. That's the problem. We won't take the necessary steps. And I also noticed that you pointed out too as well. And I said the same thing. It's like, Bernie, be careful when you're going after Whoopi Goldberg, because they're going to say you're attacking a woman of color.
Yeah.
But hey, if another woman of color goes after a woman of color on stage in a debate for you, maybe you should help them out.
But, oh my God.
Just wanted to point that out. Sorry.
But see, you made me lose my train of thought now, fam. Okay, so
I want you to imagine, what if Bernie was actually the fighter that we wanted him to be? What would he be saying in that situation?
Well, I mean, I really don't think
he would
what
say,
else could you...
Whoopi, I'm in the race, but they're rigging it. There's the long lines.
How does that make him sound to everybody else that's not us, though?
They might look into it.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, then if you really want him to make a stance, he should have made a stance here and said, you know what? It's democracy. I can stay in it to the convention. We don't know what's going to happen with Joe Biden.
I would have liked him to say.
So therefore, I'm going to run until as long as I feel like I should be able to run.
Yeah.
I'm not officially out of it. I'm not completely eliminated by you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have a problem with his response, but I would have liked him to say, we're going to stay till the convention, because you know what? People are very excited about this campaign. People want me to stay in the race.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue this all the way to the convention, because that is what I don't believe Joe Biden can beat Trump. But he doesn't say that, because he has said that
he's already said that Joe Biden can beat Trump.
Not just Joe Biden, but any Democrat. And that's just, we know that's not the case.
Hey, fam, isn't it funny that they're canceling right now the convention that we're talking about, possibly moving it back or canceling it?
They moved it to August,
but
fam.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, they're going to let them go ahead on Tuesday to go vote.
Oh, yes. We'll talk about that. Did you want to read this?
Jim Lockett says, I love that you put an ad on Jimmy Doran. Here I am. That's right. Well, that ad cost me $10, so now it only cost me $8 that you left me $2. Thank you, Jim Lockett. We do appreciate it. We also have one from William Bustos. Tips for supporting Tulsi. Thanks, Pasta. Well, listen, I don't support her on here in the CARES Act. I appreciate she came out with a very simple bill, UBI, working across party lines, because I like to see people, when push comes to shove, I don't care if you're a Democrat, Independent, Republican, whatever, if you go there to support the people, then I'm going to support you on that move. But like I said, William, she got a little bit too aloha, and she didn't call out Wall Street. And this is an area where people say, oh, she's great in foreign policy, but she's got to be better in domestic policy. Well, then seize the opportunity. You said something a day after it came out. It's a lot of pages. It's a week later. Seize the opportunity. Call out the fact that Wall Street took our money again.
Politicians are always going to politician. That's the thing. That's what
there's
always a different kind of behavior that's required, at least in the system we're in now.
Fuck that.
There's a separation, and that's the way people have been operating for the longest time.
But now we have a pandemic.
Has it been working? Has it been working? Has it been working?
Is there ever? No, it hasn't.
Has it been operating like that for?
Absolutely not.
You
need Maria Estrada to be out there. But people say, but this is the whole thing. People are like, well, Maria's too loud, too this, too that.
Bullshit.
But guess what? Maybe that's what we need. And that's why do you think Donald Trump won? Donald Trump won because he was that guy for the right.
And he called out Bush.
Yeah, he
has
zero
in South Carolina.
He has zero problems calling out anybody.
If Bernie did that with Joe, I guess he kind of did it with Joe.
He didn't do anything like that.
He
Trump
called him
said
out about
they lied about it.
Trump
said they lied about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You think that he would he was raped this woman and he lied about it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Bernie would never say
He's
that.
no, but right there he was lying to his face, and he was like, "Oh, go check the tape," instead of saying, "You know something, Joe, you're a liar. You're lying to people on national.
Yeah.
You're lying to people." He didn't want to even call him a liar when Joe lied to his face, telling him that Bernie had super PACs.
That's the thing. Bernie's too kind.
But that's
it's
we once saw the Savage
sword
Bernie,
and it's a gift. It's both. Yeah.
Glory talks about it all the time.
Savage Bernie, 1986.
1980s.
1987 Savage Burn.
Retro Bernie. We need retro Bernie.
Okay.
All right, before we go to the Rogan thing, can I just say something real quick about the
No.
ROKFIN? Because because you got mad at me because I didn't explain. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be doing a ROKFIN exclusive only on Wednesday. Wednesdays only, 5 o'clock Pacific time. That's the only time that we're going to do it. It's Wednesday at 5. But we'll be on YouTube all the time, so you can still always catch us here. But if you have a few bucks, you can do a Rocky Bellinger and a Frank Howard or a Carrie Mark or a Holly Horn or a Pijman or somebody else. God, the people who are on ROKFIN are going to be so mad at me. If you can go over there and endorse us for $9.99, please do so. We know it's really tough. But once you get that check, send it our way. Fam, Joe's slogan.
So Joe Rogan, everybody's freaking out. All the neoliberals are getting their panties in a twist because Joe Rogan said he'd rather vote for Trump than Biden. And guess what? He's not the only one, motherfucker.
So would I, if I had to.
Joe Rogan says, I'd rather vote for Trump than Joe Biden,
Gun to my head.
president, not aging at all in office. So he basically made this comment. We're going to play the video. I put it in here. He basically made this comment where he was asking his friend, you know, what's going on, or the guest, like, who would you vote for, blah, blah, blah. And the guest is like, oh, I wouldn't vote for either. And he's like, you know, I'd rather vote for Joe Biden against Trump. I mean, Trump, he just doesn't. He was talking about how old he is and how he's going to get older. Because, you know, all the presidents who go into office and become president, they age really, really quickly. And he said Donald Trump doesn't really look like he's aged that much. And I know this isn't the only reason why he would obviously endorse. He didn't endorse, but why he would obviously vote for Trump over Biden. Because he's talked about liking Bernie's policies. He's talked about liking Tulsi's policy. And he obviously looks at the policy. But what people are so focused on is, oh my God, this is all Bernie's fault because Joe Rogan is alt-right and he should have never elevated him. And so now this is all Bernie's fault. Bernie sucks. Bernie sucks. Joe Rogan is alt-right. And that's all that these people are saying. It's fucking hilarious.
Quick, gun to your head. You had to pick Joe Rogan. Gun to your head, you had to pick Biden or Trump. Who would you pick? If you pick one or the other.
Right.
You can't punt. You can't write in anybody.
So I did this video and I'm going to release it basically saying, gun to my head, if someone was told me they were going to shoot my dog, I would say I would have to assess the lesser of evils, right? The lesser of evils. Let's see. Joe Biden is to the right of Trump when it comes to Social Security, foreign policy, trade, and actually has more suspect rape allegations against him, has worked with segregationists, has a terrible record that Donald Trump doesn't have. And we don't know who would be running the presidency. It wouldn't be him. Be his cabinet full of neoliberals, war hawks. We'd probably go to World War III. So guess what? Based on that, if I absolutely had to, and I'm not going to, but if I absolutely had to, I would have to vote for Donald Trump. I honestly, I will be the first one to admit it. And you know what? That doesn't make me feel good. Obviously, it doesn't make me feel good. And I'm not going to do it. I'm probably going to go third party or peace and freedom or whatever the hell it is. But like, the fact is, Joe Biden is such a terrible, terrible candidate that you literally can't blame people for voting for saying I'd rather vote for Trump, because guess what? In this case, folks, he's the lesser of evils. Why don't we just hear what Joe Rogan said and then we can discuss this. He said two things: something about Tulsi, wishing Tulsi was in charge, and then about why he would vote for Trump over Biden.
Choice at all? How so? I want a choice of an actual president that's viable. I don't have one. So then you're going to ask me, well, which of the non-viable people do you like best?
Well, this is the real issue with the Democratic Party. They've essentially made us all morons.
Yeah.
With this Joe Biden thing, they really have.
Can
they
you
made
imagine?
us all morons.
Who do we need? I mean,
I can't vote for that guy.
I can't vote for him.
I can't vote for him.
I can't vote for Trump.
I'd rather vote for Trump than him. I don't think he could handle anything. I mean, you're relying entirely on his cabinet. Like, if you want to talk about an individual leader that can communicate, he can't do that. And we don't even know what the fuck he's going to be like after a year in office. The pressure of being the president of the United States is something that no one has ever prepared for.
Right.
The only one who seems to be fine with it is Trump, oddly enough. I mean, he doesn't seem to be aging at all or in any sort of decline. You know, Obama, like, almost immediately started looking older.
Yeah.
George W. almost immediately started looking older.
I think that this is not a change in Trump. Like, Trump, in a weird way, has just always been this performative, like a fake alpha.
Right, and he still plays golf all the time. Like, he hasn't switched up much. I mean, I'm sure he switched it up a little bit because of the pandemic, because he's apparently a germaphobe, which is hilarious. But this could be his demise. You know? I mean, isn't that kind of hilarious? That might be what does him in. The guy's always been worried about germs, apparently.
How does that work with his active
at all?
Fam, gun to my head. I'm going to say this. Sorry, Alyssa Milano, but I'm taking Donald Trump if I have a gun to my head, because simply I don't think that Joe Biden has the mental capacity to run the country, let alone have the red button. Like I said, he's going to hit the red button, think he's ordering some oatmeal cookies and warm milk, and he's going to send a nuke to friggin' China, where he wants to put 70% of our Navy in the South China Sea anyways. So if I had a gun to my head, and once again, you might go peace and freedom. You know what? And even though I was a Tulsi Gabbard supporter, I still believe that Bernie Sanders, despite all his faults, and he's had a lot of them on the campaign and a lot now with this bill, I still believe that he would be winning if we had fair and free elections. So I might write in Bernie Sanders, because I honestly believe that he will be, even though I'm a diehard Tulsi Gabbard supporter in this situation. Tulsa, but I'm pissed off at Bernie right now.
Joking.
But besides the point, like I said, we watched a great movie last night.
Jokes.
It's a Russian propaganda film called Kill
Oh
Chain.
my God! Yeah,
so
we'll have to.
We should break that down another day.
Yeah, we're gonna break that down. That was a neoliberal propaganda Pasta made us watch last night.
Yeah. But our elections are fair. They're not safe. And I always talk about it. And at one point, you know what I'm saying? And also, friend of the show, Mike Tracy, says he'll come on and talk about that with us next week, maybe. So maybe we can have Mike Tracy, who really doesn't believe strongly in so much rigging. He's not a big he was a fan of Bernie before. We'll ask him that question. But the rigging, the whole thing is, I think a lot of people feel that Bernie Sanders has made some serious mistakes on the campaign.
Sure has.
Serious mistakes within and fam,
doesn't mean rigging isn't true.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something. But here's the thing: we can't prove the rigging. You can't prove it's fair. If anything, we should be fighting for transparency.
I think we can prove it. I think it's been proven.
Well, the exit polls alone are enough for me to go, come on, guys.
Exit polls
look at this.
Alone are enough
by
for
any
most
standards. Yeah, by any standards.
Yeah. So just the Joe Biden thing, though. I just want to point something out. Joe Biden it's not about Bernie Sanders or Joe Rogan being the kind of guy that's going to vote for Trump. Joe Rogan represents middle of America. He literally represents the average Joe. Like the average guy. He is an independent, gets a lot of libertarians. He talks to some people I don't agree with. That's fine. He's not a politician. He's not a journalist. He's just a guy that talks to different people and interviews them. He was never going to vote for Joe Biden. Ever. Ever, ever, ever in a million years. Ever. So for these neoliberals to get angry about his statement, it's ridiculous. You obviously weren't paying attention. He liked Tulsi Gabbard. He liked Andrew Yang. He liked Bernie Sanders. He never once liked any centrist candidate. And you have to ask yourself, who's the problem here, Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden? Because obviously Joe Biden is pushing people to vote for Trump over him. He's that terrible of a candidate that he's not only pushing Joe Rogan, he's pushing a lot of progressives to say, if they screw this up again, if they nominate Biden, guess what? I'm going to vote for Trump. Progressives that I know are going to vote for Trump just to spite the Democratic Party. And guess what? You can't blame them anymore.
Nope.
You can't. You have zero. You literally rigged these elections and you're propping up a corpse in the middle of a pandemic. A corpse who said he would veto Medicare for all. Yeah. Who hasn't done shit. Has literally done nothing in regards to coronavirus. Nothing.
Yep.
Hasn't shown us how he's going to lead. And he, again, like he pointed out, does not have the mental capacity to do it at all. He has dementia, and nobody will say that. At least Joe Rogan's saying it. At least he's letting his audience know. And so look at what Mehdi Hassan wrote real quick, because what Mehdi Hassan said really, really irritated the hell out of me. He said, given Bernie
this guy
mistakenly elevated Joe Rogan's endorsement of him. And given Rogan is now saying he'd rather vote for Trump than Biden, is it not time for Bernie to also now distance himself from Rogan too? Hashtag just asking. We know you're not just asking, dumbass. We know you're a vote blue no matter who guy, and you have gotten into Twitter fights with people, with Bernie supporters, a large hardcore, who say, I don't care if Bernie asks us and begs us and makes us and gives us a puppy. We're not voting for Joe Biden. And that's what he doesn't understand. He thinks, warped in his head, as do many people that I respect. I don't know why. They think that Joe Biden is worse than Trump.
Yeah, they're still going to play that game,
and
fam.
or that Donald Trump is worse than Joe Biden.
Nope.
And I can't bring myself to understand how you possibly think that. And even then, if you do think that, why does it matter? Just don't vote for either of them.
Well,
why are you asking people to vote for a pile of shit, just because it has glitter on it instead of this pile of shit?
No, the other one's vomit.
And
it's shit and vomit.
Either way, fam, it's your preference.
Yeah.
And they both suck. And guess what? I'm not having either one of them. I'll starve to death.
Well, I don't know if you have to eat the shit or eat the throat.
Well, that's
vomit.
the situation.
No, we're really going to starve during it. Well, listen, can you imagine when the pandemic clears and if, in fact, Joe Biden is the nominee, the once again, this whole thing, we've experienced this, Johnny and Eve, you're going to experience this. You probably experienced it last time, the way neoliberals like Bakari Sellers and Nia Tander are going to try to guilt you, Alyssa Milano, feel guilty into voting.
Oh, she
hasn't
hasn't stopped.
You know, I had a friend of mine even said, we started, come on, man, you're going to vote for Trump? Come on, over Biden? Well, I'm not going to vote for Biden or Trump, but no voting for Biden is just like voting for Trump. Come on, man. Like bullying people into voting a certain way, vote shaming them again. They're all winding up and getting ready again. You know that pitcher who goes like this and keeps going like, all right, here we go. Eventually they're going to throw the ball, but they're winding up and they're getting ready for it. Be ready for the smear campaign. Be ready for the punking. Be ready for the vote shaming. Okay? Be ready for them to start taking your vote hostage again. You know, like they did for me who voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. Come on, you're going to vote for the pussy grabber? Come on, you're in Florida. Your vote means something because I was in Florida at the time. I only wish I was here in California. I could have wrote in.
Trump talks about, and I credit Tina for this, Trump talks about grabbing women by the pussy. Biden just does it.
Ah!
Tina Berg, thank you very much
Put
for
your
that.
finger out like this. I want a Joe Biden.
No. Don't
Joe
do
Biden.
That. Come on, fam. Calm yourself. There's another part of this video where he talks about Tulsi. I put it in for you.
Oh, yo, if there's a Tulsi part of the video, play
it. Should be the second.
Play it for the Tulsel.
This is a great time to see what people are actually made out of.
Yeah, who's heroic? The heroic impulse.
Sure, and who can keep their shit together when things go sideways, when things get Western, as it were.
Well, let me ask you a question. Of all of the presidential candidates that were in the race, like everybody who's dropped out as well, which of them would you want in a COVID situation?
Tulsi.
That's, by the way, that was my answer as well.
Instantly. What about Tulsi? She's a person of real character. You know, I don't see her like I see a lot of these people that are running for president. I see them wearing masks. You know, I mean, I don't even need to name names, but they're doing their best impression of a politician. Like a shitty comedian will do their best impression of Dave Attell. You know, that's the best example that someone gave me of like the comparison. There's a style of communicating that a lot of them have adopted to try to appear. And you can tell that they're coached. They're trying to appear presidential. That's who she is, man. I've hung out with her off camera, on camera. I've seen her, just the way she communicates with people. You know, I don't know her down to the bone, but what I see, I'm very impressed with. And she's developed her character over 2 tours of duty overseas.
Again, who volunteers? Who takes this stuff on? This leadership.
So, any comments on that?
Do we need any comment?
Well,
I mean,
okay.
let Krista Schillis right now on his Twitter, our friend of the show and my man from Vegas, say what's up to Chris, Johnny. Okay, Gizmo.
What up, Chris?
Come on. I mean, he wants to say, you
Hi,
put your
Gizmo.
picture up, say hi. He wants
I say
to see
hi
it.
to the dog.
My mic is.
All right, well, whatever the case may be. You know, Chris, he's a friend of the show. He's been putting on videos of Tulsi Gabbard months and months ago talking about this, fam. We went to a lot of her rallies and whatnot. And I even told Johnny, and we kind of laughed about it, like it was the boring parts of her rallies because I was like, I wasn't taking Corona serious. I was like, come on, man.
You're like, I drink
would you
Modelo
watch
food.
Jackson Facts over here? What's going on? You know what I'm saying?
And Tulsi was posting a lot.
Tulsi
A
was
lot.
all over this. She was like, we need to get the testing. We need to get the respirators. She was ahead of this, but she was also the foreign policy thing about saying we need to lift the sanctions from Iran right now because if they get in trouble, we will eventually get in trouble. Whoever gets sick, it's us. We're all in this together now globally.
And then people like Bernie started talking about the sanctions, and then Ilhan started talking about the sanctions, and I'm glad people are talking about the sanctions. And just back on the Tulsi thing. I mean, I do think that she's somebody that I mean is calm and collected and knows how to handle situations. Obviously, she's been in the military, and that's something that I don't think anybody can debate. I mean, the woman is as calm as a cucumber when it comes to dealing with stress. And I agree. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to her handling this situation as a Secretary of State or somebody in the cabinet. I 100% agree with that. I do think it's interesting that he still feels this way. And the reason I wanted to point this video out is because Joe Rogan is never going to vote for Joe Biden. He likes Tulsi. Tulsi might have endorsed Joe Biden, but the majority of Tulsi's base will never vote for Joe Biden. No. The majority of Tulsi's base is either going to vote for Trump, third party, or just not going to vote at all.
Some will vote libertarian.
Libertarian, yeah. So what Joe Biden or Joe Rogan, the good Joe, represents
the good Joe,
the pastas of the world. Okay, he
not
represents
really.
Not really. Okay,
not really.
But he represents
outside
the
libertarian
bubble,
and
like independent, outside the bubble. Yeah, like he's more outside the bubble. And
He's an Italian grandma.
Yeah, and
Johnny says he's an Italian grandma. Sorry, you guys can't hear him.
He represents me. God, I don't want to interrupt your thought.
Well, he's.
I mean, you're going to talk about the libertarian shit. It was a libertarian.
I just meant the libertarian part.
Like in Thomas Massey, who had to call out Congress on this whole situation. He called for transparency. He called the bill a corporate giveaway. Why does it have to be a libertarian from Kentucky to speak the truth in Congress?
Yeah.
Give me a effing break. But Joe Rogan does represent the people who are outside the bubble, who are on the fence, who probably wouldn't have had the courage to say, you know what? Hey, I don't know as much politics about you, but I'm not voting for Biden over Trump.
Yeah.
Because Joe Rogan gave me the power to say that, and he made so much sense when he says that I could say it too. That wasn't around last time. And that's why they're reacting the way they do, because
difficult. That's
it's
the
different.
Thing. It's not difficult
to see
who's genuine and who isn't. But that's the thing. This is what Jimmy Dore often gets to when he talks about this. It's not difficult. Like if comedians can figure it out, like the rest of the people can figure out that you're a fraud, and Joe Biden is a fraud, and anybody could see that he's a fraud. Anybody could see Hillary Clinton was as fake as anything. I mean, she just was one of the most hypocritical, disgusting, psychopathic individuals I've ever seen. And so that's why it's so important to point out somebody like Joe Biden might like Tulsi, might like Yang, might like Bernie, but those people that you're getting angry because they won't support the nominee, we're never going to support the nominee. In fact, you're lucky they even uttered the name of a Democrat candidate for president in Bernie Sanders, because that means that guy did something that brought them over. And that's what every single candidate needs to do. Yeah. People, those three candidates that I mentioned did something that brought people from a different side over.
Yeah.
I don't agree with Yang on nearly most things, but he did bring something to the table that others didn't.
Yeah.
And so did Tulsi, and so did Bernie. And so these Democrats are so arrogant. They expect you to do what they want, and don't fucking do it. Not, in fact, vote against it.
Yeah. Well, that's what he's doing. And let me tell you something. He said it also, too. They made a fool out of all of us. And they know, what has he got, 6 million subscribers over there, Johnny? Something ridiculous,
something
right?
Ridiculous
so,
like
I mean, he carries a lot of weight.
Shut the hell up.
So that's what they are. They're afraid, and they understand what he represents. So they go out there and they try to get out in front of this by smearing him, by calling him alt-right, by saying this kind of shit. Why? Because he's speaking truth and they don't like it. And he's got a big following. And here's the thing.
They're
Democrats like Bakari sellers, Neera Tanden, Rachel Maddow, all you that can eat a bag of Richards. He's getting people outside the bubble to vote against freaking Joe Biden.
Exactly.
So you're really screwed.
And guess what? Guess who could be the candidate right now that's still in the race that could unite all those people, all those Joe Rogans
Tulsi's
and all those
race?
Republicans?
Sorry.
Bernie Sanders, motherfucker. I think Tulsi could have been that candidate too. If she had stated she could have been the candidate if she had the votes. Like, if the system wasn't rigged, I think in the future she could definitely be that candidate. But what I'm saying, my whole point though, is these people take from the right, from the middle, from everywhere. They don't just take from the Democratic Party, which is why they can win. And unfortunately, Joe Biden is not that guy. No. And let's look at what Joe Biden has been doing, because Joe Biden has been I just feel so bad. This is cruelty. This is what is it? Elder abuse. This is what you say I do to you.
I listen to the scientists. A convention having tens of thousands of people in one arena is very different than having people walk into a polling booth with accurate spacing to 6 to 10 feet apart, one at a time, going in and have machines scrubbed down. But I do think there are going to be a lot more. I think you could hold the election as well, dealing with mail-in ballots and same-day registration. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done. That's for the Wisconsin courts and folks to decide. But I think it's possible to do both, to have both more mail-in ballots. People, and today is the last day, I guess, till 5 o'clock to ask for one. It was an hour time difference from where I am in Wisconsin. And I think it could be done based on what I'm hearing from the news and what I understand the governor and others are saying. But that's for them to decide.
Okay. Here he's saying, we could totally cancel a convention because that's just so many people. But we should go ahead and pretty much have a primary because you can scrub down machines and be
Spacing,
6 to 10
fam.
feet apart. That doesn't happen,
Spacing.
dude. If you know anything about how Florida and Illinois went, you know that they didn't have the 16-year-old poll worker was waiting hours to get the wipes, was waiting hours to get the gloves, and it's just no, Joe, no. Stop telling your people to go vote right now.
Michael J., thank you for the super chat contribution. It is always appreciated on this couch. Showed Carlo the tree. That's a Godfather reference. Fee and Pasta, you guys keep me sane. These times call for unlikely allies, so I hope you don't mind a libertarian on your team. Love you both. Hey, listen, since Tulsi's dropped out of the race, and it doesn't look like Bernie, I don't know what the Democratic Party, I'm going to have to support Soraya Foss.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Jesus Christ.
Soraya Foss, she's good on civil liberties.
Pasta,
she's good on
Pasta,
foreign policies. She's good on the coronavirus.
The most terrible candidates we've interviewed.
There goes the laughing of the Dolphins. Hey, I like Soraya Foss at this point.
Sure.
Right now, I'm going to take a libertarian over a freaking establishment Democrat.
Yeah.
Who would you vote for, Soraya Foss or Joe Biden?
Neither.
You guys are terrible. Oh, God, I like Soraya.
Basta has other interests.
Stop.
Okay.
What are you doing? This is live.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry. I forgot we were
my
live.
God. Stop laughing over there. That's not funny.
Liam Cunningham. Do you guys know who he is? Do you recognize him? He's in Game of Thrones. He was the
Let me see which one he was.
The guy that had that took care of the daughter. Remember? The little girl that they burned at stake. He was the guy that was taking care of her. Yeah, the king's right hand, the corrupt king. Anyway, this is this fire tweet he had right here. Did I just...
You just had it up.
Okay. There it is. No, that's not it. Let me find it.
Liam Cunningham.
Oh, there it is. The corpse of neoliberalism is beginning to stink.
Oh.
It absolutely is, fam. It's stinking. It's stinking. It's dead. It's dying. He's right. I love it. I love it. I love it. Because neoliberalism, just like the Democratic Party, is dying. And I just wanted to say that. So, fam, I've been doing a lot of work on Wisconsin, talking to so many Wisconsinites.
Yes.
And
well, Joe says it's okay because they're spacing out.
6 to 10 feet.
I'm the guy, who knows the thing about the guy with the hairy legs and cockroaches and kids sitting on my lap.
In your laps, Joe.
Breaking.
So the Wisconsin governor, his name is Tony Evers. He was finally willing to say, okay, fine, let's delay the primary. But the legislature refused to heed his call to delay the primary and, of course, turn it into a vote by mail, which is what they were trying to do. And they said this. If the governor had legitimate concerns, we could have come to a bipartisan solution weeks ago. This discussion would have happened long before today. The governor, by the way, is a Democrat. These people are Republicans. Either way, they both suck. The only bipartisan discussion we've had was to ensure the election would continue safely and to maximize the opportunity to vote absentee. Unfortunately, it's this type of feckless leadership Wisconsin has come to expect of the governor in the face of the crisis. Instead of remaining strong to ensure representative democracy continues, he caves under political pressures from national liberal special interest groups. Hundreds of thousands of workers are going to their jobs every day, serving in essential roles in our society. There's no question that an election is just as important as getting takeout food. Our republic must continue to function, and the many local government positions on the ballot must be filled so that the municipalities can swiftly respond to the crisis at hand. We continue to support what Governor Evers has supported for weeks. The election should continue as planned Tuesday.
Who wrote that?
The two state legislators of Wisconsin. Now, what I want to say in regards to that is they were literally comparing going to vote to going to get takeout. Obviously, it's not the same thing because in order to have poll centers open, you need poll workers. In order to have poll workers, these are volunteers. All those thousands of volunteers, as you guys saw in the last video I did, completely dipped out because they're scared they're going to catch the coronavirus. And they probably are. And a lot of these people, guess what? They're older. So they're more likely to have the serious consequences of the illness. So now they're targeting the younger people. Guess what? Just a review of what I wrote. They are messaging even restaurant workers saying, hey, you want to come be a poll worker? They're messaging doctors, healthcare workers. Hey, you want to come be a poll worker? To take them away from dealing with COVID to deal with this. But what Governor Evers can do is issue a directive, a broad directive that pretty much goes above the legislature and can say, hey, you guys can vote. It's an executive order, and it would postpone the election. Because the Republican governor in Ohio, DeWine, was able to do that. And so that's what the activists right now are pretty much calling on him to do. He hasn't really listened. I think it's bullshit. I think he did it as a result of all the backlash he was getting. But he knew the Republicans were never going to agree. They're working in hand. They want
the
this
Democrats
to continue.
in the legislation also joining the Republicans when it came?
They're not fighting. Yeah, nobody's fighting against this.
In other words, the Democrats not standing behind the governor and saying, "Hey, come on, let him suspend."
Madison and Milwaukee mayors are against the election continuing. They've issued statements. They've issued a brief.
It's stupid.
But they can only do so much. The governor has the power to go overboard.
It's because the establishment Democrats want to try to push Joe Biden for another big win
absolutely.
that they got all wired up because they got that data they're sitting on.
Yep.
They got all those mail-in ballots that they're already sitting on.
Oh.
And they know they got a substantial lead. So if they suppress the late vote, once again, late vote is liberal to progressive, then guess what? Joe Biden will have a big win coming out of there. And therefore they can say now they can force Bernie Sanders even to a further into the corner and say, drop out, pal. Now you got zero shot. And they want to wrap this shit up Tuesday.
That's exactly what they want to do. And so the special legislative session was adjourned. They were going to have one, and they adjourned it until Monday. They were going to have one Saturday, I believe, afternoon. And it came quick, and they said, Statement Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald, Chief of Staff, the session in the assembly chambers was to be promptly adjourned until Monday, April 6th. So they can technically keep going and protesting this until the day of. So we don't know if there's going to be one. Right now, it looks like there will be. The governor has the power to override everybody and say, we're not going to have this. It's been done. He can't say it hasn't happened. But Wisconsin was granted a major disaster declaration right now in response to COVID-19. But it's still having this election. So just so you guys know, this is how stupid this is. And I interviewed a doctor today. We'll be posting the thing for tomorrow morning. But Wisconsin was granted the major disaster declaration in response to COVID-19. And it has access to public assistance programs for all 72 counties and federally recognized tribes in response to the pandemic. And it's basically a big heap of help for the state of Wisconsin. The problem is that they're still going to have the primary, which is contradicting everything. The CDC, what they've been told to do to stay in shelter in place, and this doesn't make any sense.
Hey, fam, would you believe it or not if I told you that even despite the COVID, pandemic out there, if it wasn't even here, that Wisconsin would have a lot of things to question about the election itself as the way it is. Yep. Even if there wasn't a virus out there, whatnot, there's issues with that election.
Yep.
So now we got this on top of it. You know, and I don't understand how people can't catch this. This is what they're trying to do. I think you said something. They're going from 181 polling stations down to 10 or something.
Oh, they went down from 10 to 5. The doctor told us today.
Come on.
Yeah, 5.
But Joe Biden says, with,
and that's
with Lysol and some wipes and some what's that rubber thing? I'm the guy who invented that stuff.
What's rubber gloves.
The rubber gloves things. They'll be okay.
Hey, you read this, Russian.
Just open our absentee ballotee envelopes to vote in the upcoming primary. There are all the contents of both envelopes. No actual ballot to be seen. No way to vote. Wisconsin elections. MKE vote. How common is this era? What are voters supposed to do? The Wisconsin prime.
So, just to translate what Pasta said, this guy got it in the mail
with no contents, no ballots, no actual ballots.
And we've been hearing how people are saying that they're not qualified for the
just
ballot.
Go get one on Tuesday.
Actually, Ashley just got her a notice that said, "Hey, you didn't send up proper ID to get your ballot," and she sent her license. So what? This is the kind of bullshit, and they know this works for is a Bernie Sanders supporter, and all they know. I'm telling you guys, this is just a snippet of what's going to happen on Tuesday and beyond Tuesday, because they still have to count the ballots. We've been told that there's not enough people to serve the demand of all the people requesting absentee ballots. So all the people, how we didn't get 17,000 ballots to people, that's going to happen probably more over there. Because guess what? They don't have the workers. They need more time. Yeah. So it's not just about doing vote by mail. Sure, that's what they want. But it's postponing the time so they have more time to get these ballots. If you really want your citizens, your constituents to vote, and it's not just about Bernie. There are other races going on in Wisconsin for judges, etc. And if you really want them to vote, you would freaking postpone the election and make sure that you get everybody's voted. Yeah. And it's that easy. You could do vote by mail. That's fine. People would be fine with that. But you guys don't want that. They do not want people to vote. They want to choose Joe Biden and the establishment candidates, and that's it.
They want to wrap it up by Tuesday. That's what the establishment Democrats want. And if situations like this, you know how they can do these things? Let me just explain. They have the database, right? Every Democratic leader understands who the Bernie people are in that room. Okay, they just know who they are. Trust me. The politics out here, some are establishment, and then some are Bernie. They're very, very progressives. So now the Democratic leaders, they kind of point out who those people are to the establishment, and if any groups that they have with those people, they know exactly who the Bernie base is, and that's how they can suppress that vote right away. They collect data, they collect information, they know who's what, and they can get it done.
Fam.
Yes.
I have one last thing on Wisconsin. I just want to show. This person said, I suppose we should all be doing mail-in ballots anyway. Seems crazy we would have to go to another state. A lot of people wouldn't be able to make it out of state. I think that would influence the outcome of the elections. And this is Mike Leon said, problem is some voters won't, some can't, many will make mistakes. Madison, Wisconsin city clerk just announced that she is sending back over 1,000 ballots because seniors made mistakes on absentee ballots. We are forcing people to make choices between their health or their vote. Many folks, though, through no fault of their own, don't know how to vote absentee. Evers, the governor, can ban the election day gatherings, and he knows this. Instead, he is sheep-herding party fave Joe Biden to a strong showing, so Wisconsin, as host of the convention in July, can play an outsized part in the nomination, which is what they've been planning on doing, as over 1,000 other states have postponed. Now, as over a dozen other states have postponed. Now, Evers is playing word games. I can't move the April 7 elections. No, you can ban in-person voting, which would force the legislature to reschedule or result in no elections at all. This is a political partisan decision by Tony Evers. The Capital Times knows this and flags for Evers instead, and every other Democratic politician knows this. Dane County Clerk Scott McDonald said it well. I am convinced this election cannot be run in a fair and safe manner on April 7th. I have asked the county board to authorize an amicus brief asking for a delay of the April 7th election. The safety risk of voters and election workers is too great to risk. The chance of errors due to confusion, crowding, and overwork is great. The likelihood of thousands of ballots being returned after statutory deadline through no fault of the voter or clerk is very high, calling into question the legitimacy of the election. And this is all before Tuesday, you guys. This is all before freaking Tuesday that we're talking about this. Like, it just seems like deja vu over and over again. We're trying to tell people, hey, this isn't okay. These elections aren't legit. We need to do something to stop this. We need to find a way to, guys, we should be screaming. This isn't, it's not about just Wisconsin. This has been happening over and over again. Before the pandemic, it's going to continue worse. They have it more easily now. They can just cancel everything. And they aren't making it easier for people to vote during this crisis. And they're willing to risk people's lives. Because as a doctor I interviewed today said, more people are going to get sick. And those sick people are going to infect other healthy people. And then it's going to be worse.
Great White Shark says, I have to let that go because amen. Great reading job. Great analysis. Great White Shark says, that was mine. Compliment to you. Great White Shark says, thoughts on Warren red flag bill, true gun grab. John, that war, and you really did that, and you put that into play, and that worked. I haven't read about that. I know we were talking about Warren. The money she got just got exposed, and it's kind of funny enough, but I was going back and watching old sessions of Warren on the floor sometimes. It's a lot more promising than her campaign and the money she gets from the people she gets it from. I'll tell you that much, but once again, it could be grandstanding in an arena where you know you're not going to win. Who knows? Fan makes some serious points when saying, what can one person do? However, I don't know. I'd like to see that Savage consistent across the board. 87, Bernie Sanders, bring him back. Michael J., thank you for the Super Chat contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. Didn't mean to cause strife. Just be sincere, and I'll be here. Mike. We love you, Mike. Mike J., friend of the show, 250 people watching on the YouTubes. Tweets at us if you want to hang on at the Convo Couch Twitter. We do have 3 viewers. Rocky Bellinger is one of them over on, and Frederick Howard's over there, over on, and the Convo Couch is there, over on our ROKFIN. If you can go over to ROKFIN and hang out with us, guys, we always love it over there. That was the end of the folder. Nope, we got more stuff going right now. No. The interview. Okay, well, you'll go over this in another time, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That was done.
Yeah.
You're going to be posting up an interview. You talked to Dr. Dick McGowan.
Richard McGowan.
Same thing, fam.
Yes, fam.
And you had an interesting interview, and he gave you some updates on COVID-19, what's going on in Wisconsin.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep. It's bad.
Do we have a Neera Tanden tweet somewhere?
It's
Where's the
really
one we
bad.
sent? I sent you from. Yeah. There's a Neera Tanden tweet that somebody sent me. A friend of the show sent it to us. What is that? It says, "Oh my God, I just watched this insanity where Jimmy Dore screams a lot at me in a very long, unhinged rant. The power these people ascribe to me has always been really amazing." Neera Tanden. And then there's
so
Jimmy there
stupid.
Screaming at Neera Tanden.
Why is she so
I think
dumb?
we mentioned Neera Tanden a couple times this show.
We have.
Even without
She won't
Jimmy's
block me
thought
yet.
process.
I'm really
it doesn't
upset.
make a difference. Neera is Neera.
She donated to our GoFundMe, though.
She did.
She did. Neera Tanden donated to GoFundMe. I don't know if we should say that. Maybe that means we got corporate money. Center for American Progress money.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
We're sellouts.
my God. Center for American Progress gets a lot of money from Bloomberg. And it's kind of funny when you saw Bernie Sanders going after Bloomberg on stage, and half of his campaign leaders, come from Center for American Progress. It was like, those guys on your campaign paid for you to yell at each other.
If you want to look at hashtag Joe Biden or hashtag Joe Rogan, Johnny, you'll see some of these tweets of these neoliberals and their panties in a twist, because it's just funny seeing how they're so reactionary. They're so upset about Joe Rogan.
There she is. She donated 2 months ago.
Endorsing, or not even, just saying that he would vote for Trump over Biden. Hashtag Joe Rogan. They're so upset about this. And they're so intent on making it about how Bernie Sanders and his Bernie bros are the worst. How they're the ones that did this whole thing. And it's just hilarious to me. I just can't get over. It's just so funny.
Well, if you type in Joe Rogan, it says the first one that comes up is Joe Rogan is over.
Oh, God.
Do you want to go to that one? Or
just why not? That sounds like a good one. Joe Rogan is over. Can I read it like in a nice Neera Tanden way? He's over. I don't want you guys to spoil somebody from the alt-right.
Look at that one.
This tweet is Joe Rogan trying to wash the racist scent he just sprayed all over himself. The reek is permanent, Joe. You are now endorsing Trump Ergo, you are
They literally
racist.
make you want to endorse Trump just to fuck with them. Literally.
But you know what's the funny thing is that this is a win-win situation for the Democrats.
Absolutely.
If Biden or Trump wins, because what's Trump's win going to do? Draw more divisiveness.
Yeah.
And then
I don't think it's a win for the
Democrats. They're going to continue approving his military budget.
Yeah. It lets them be the Fugazi opposition.
And it allows them to do this
opposition.
theater.
It's a win for the Democrats in the short term. In the long term, it's a lose for the Democrats, because guess what's going to happen if they nominate Joe Biden and he goes to lose to Trump? The progressives aren't going to participate. Like I think people are underestimating how angry a lot of us are, and how we're really not going to vote for. Not only are we not going to vote for Joe Biden, I have people saying we will adamantly campaign against him. While Bernie Sanders, if and when the time comes for him to say, I'm endorsing Joe Biden, if Bernie Sanders goes around campaigning with Joe Biden, we're going to go around campaigning against that. And that is what these people don't realize. They think it's going to go back to just being, oh, yeah, they're just going to forget about it for the better of the unity and party. It's like, you guys, we're already living through the apocalypse. Really? What else do you want to throw at us? Like, this is the time to really, really push our buttons, because we're really, really not going to do it. And not only are we going to not do it, we're going to destroy the fucking Democratic Party and we're going to dance on the ashes of the Democratic Party, and we're going to have a party
stink of the
at the
corpse.
fall, and we're going to bring the guillotine. And people are already saying, they're talking about how it's $1,200 to build a guillotine.
Yes.
And you're going to get your $1,200 check.
Buy a guillotine.
It literally is. It's just fate. It's fate. I don't know.
All right, listen, and I think we have to take away from us, if we're going to really make this movement go from the bottom up, we have to take away the lessons learned and stuff. And one of those lessons learned is no matter whatever progressive candidate comes out of this next time in 4 years, they have to work closely with the grassroots. You cannot ignore the grassroots and the activists on the ground. Somebody over here, Great White Shark, who made a super chat contribution before, and I want to thank you for it. It's always appreciated on this couch. He also said who made Bernie's app. Now, let me tell you something. I don't know who made Bernie's app, but I can tell you a group that promoted his app. And they weren't even using. They made one in English. They made one in Spanish. And then I saw and heard people at a campaign office going, while their system was down, say, well, let's just teach people how to use the app. You could have been sending people a text with a little video on there, one in English, one in Spanish, on how to use the apps. The grassroots did that for you, Bernie. Get people who are not going to be threatened by the grassroots. I mean, we keep jumping up on our subscribers right now, and then moving up. We got 333 watts. So thank you for joining the show, but we've been talking about a lot right now. Yeah. So, I mean, that's one thing. If you're going to work in the future with a progressive, you got to work with the grassroots. Plain and simple, fam. And they ignored the grassroots.
And I have some people that are really getting ready to come to our couch and talk about their experience working for the Bernie Sanders campaign, because I know Jimmy has talked about this too. There's a lot of people that would love to talk about this right now, but they're just not able to. But some of them are willing to now. You know, that's going to happen. No. I mean, yeah, I will definitely talk on end about it. But what I'm saying is, you know, people who actually worked for the campaign, those people like that were, you know, on the ground and their frustrations. We had Melissa here, and we should probably clip that one up. We had Melissa here, and she was talking about that too. Talking about how, you know, it was very top down, and all of her concerns weren't really heard. She tried warning them about the voting thing. She tried doing all these things, and it was just smacked, whatever. And these are some of the best organizers that shouldn't have been field organizers. They should have been like running the office. They should have been doing that, you know. And we managed to win here because of those people, because we have some of the best organizers. Otherwise, we would have lost. And I'm telling you guys, we didn't win because of the head people of Bernie's campaign in LA. We actually lost some votes because of them. Yep. Because what Pasta and I were trying to do is to get them to pay attention to the election process. And what they did was completely dismiss it. They dismissed the concerns of their field organizers. They dismissed so many things. And this isn't to rag on what Bernie did wrong. This is to avoid and to
again
maybe,
in the future.
What if you still think Bernie Sanders has a slight chance? What would he have to do, Pasta? What would he have to do right now to actually maybe have a chance at the convention? Well, I believe it's a little bit too late,
but if there's anything he has to do right now, and once again, Bernie Sanders doesn't have to be the president right now to make a serious progressive dent in what's going on. Before this bill passed, he could have done something, but right now, he should stand up, fight, get the progressives all on one side and say that, and go to the people and say, listen, we're going to get you everything that you deserve in this crisis right now, and we're going to make sure you're safe when you come out of it.
And stop calling Joe his friend.
That even to the lesser degree. Why do you think? What do you say to the people in Bernie's campaign who say, yes, Joe Biden's a terrible candidate, but he's better than Trump? What do you say to those people?
Oh, I don't know what to say. No.
Based
Sorry,
on what?
It's not based
Pasta?
on what. I always ask them, I say, listen, do me a favor. If you want to sit there and shill for Joe Biden, tell me why Joe Biden is good without mentioning Donald Trump's name. And then I'll listen. And if you could do something good and come out, listen, there's some people who say that Joe Biden will be better for labor than Donald Trump. There's some people that say that Joe Biden will be better for social issues like gay marriage and all those things, and I'll protect more of those things. There are some people that say that Joe Biden will be better on the environment. I doubt it. He's always taken fracking money, big oil money. Yeah. But Donald Trump has been awful when it comes to that. He doesn't care about.
Well, he doesn't. His base doesn't believe in it.
But the areas where you talked about Donald Trump is better than Joe Biden when it comes to foreign policy, on trade. There's so many different, even on civil liberties, he's better than Joe Biden. You know what I'm saying? So, Joe Biden's a big supporter of the Patriot Act and NATO. So, I mean, there's so many things that go on. But here's another situation. So Upstate Raider put, fam, the Matt Orfalea situation was bullshit. That is another situation where not only that, I think it was wrong to accept Matt Orfalea into your team and give him a job and then throw him away.
There are
is
far
the fact
worse people that are still
yes, but the fact that you look so indecisive and confused doing it.
It's because the campaign
the
itself
endorsement
is split.
and then the unendorsement.
Endorsement. These are the things.
But that's because the campaign itself
It's
has
terrible.
been split. It's split.
But whose fault is that at the end of the day?
Half of the people,
the leader.
Half of the people are, we're very kind to Tulsi. we're pro, a little bit to, definitely a little bit more radical than the other part who was pro Warren. Be careful, throwing out those slogans, those identity politics, all that stuff ruined his campaign this time.
Do you think
around.
that was a big thing though, fam? Let's talk about that now right now. Do you think there's a lot of people, Tim Canova said on the show, some people have said before, the campaign, they went more towards the social issues and kind of pushed away the economic issues. Yeah, they echoed it, but in his first run in 2016, he seemed to really, truly pull people together because he was on top of the economic issue, which is the most important, rather than, and I'm not saying it's not important, but it's not going to get you that whole big field of people because everybody's suffering financially.
So I don't think they didn't focus on it. Actually went deeper with specifics. I think they had whole plans laid out. I think the problem was the rhetoric. Bernie Sanders had everything actually more in depth on his website and the breakdown of everything. I mean, pages and pages and pages. The problem was what he said when he went to his rallies. The problem was what he said when he was interviewed, how he focused on the identity politics, social justice aspect over talking more about how we need to come together and from the Midwest, from working class whites, from all these people, two people of color, all of them together. He was focusing more on the centrist vote than the independent and the Republican vote. Which even then, he still got people like Joe Rogan to say, hey, this is you're not bad. I agree with you. All these commentators on his show, hey, Bernie's not the crazy commie I thought he was. That's not what the mainstream media says. Yeah. Even still, he still got those people. But in listening to his advisors who told him, oh, you don't say this, don't do that, don't be so radical, that was a mistake because it's time for somebody who's ready to take the gloves off. People are thirsty for somebody to really go after the establishment and beat them to a pulp. And if you're not going to do that, you're kind of like, you're missing that aspect of it. And I'm not saying Bernie should change who he is because he's never really been that guy that's like vicious and going to tear someone down. Yeah, but I think it's also an age thing. I think he's fought for a long time. I will always give him that benefit, but we need ready to burn this shit down fighters. Yeah. And nobody has really risen to the point. I thought Tulsi was going to be that candidate.
But look what they did to her. They hit her with the whole thing, like the virtue signaling and the social justice warriors just killed her.
Sure,
oh, you're awful because you're making a geopolitical move by talking to India. It means you're a Modi supporter and you're, you know what I'm saying? I hear you, but it was, once again, he was in the position, and I agree with you, fam, that in detail, if you look on his website, we looked over the whole voting situation. It's there, but the rhetoric wasn't there.
Right.
And more importantly, the rhetoric of fighting back wasn't there. Jeremy Corbyn looked like a weak guy because they said he wouldn't punch back when he was called an anti-Semite. Bernie Sanders looked weak when he didn't punch back at Joe.
Yeah.
And he called him his friend. So I believe you, fam, when you said it's the rhetoric.
Who was it?
And that's, I think, why the more nuanced people stick with Bernie for a while.
It might be Ben Cohen that said something, comparing, if you can look it up on Twitter, comparing Jeremy Corbyn to Bernie Sanders, that point that
I've been
you
saying
made.
it in the House for the last couple of weeks. He must be listening.
They lost that aspect because, again, with Jeremy Corbyn, like, yes, he got smeared. He wasn't Jewish, so he got smeared as an anti-Semite, etc. But he also the problem was he had neoliberals in his party, just like Bernie Sanders has neoliberals in the progressive corner that he's in. And that's the problem. It's called co-option, guys. Get used to it. It always happens in movements. This is what the establishment does.
Yeah.
They learn your ways. They pretend to be your friend. Then they take over, push back completely, stay on message to what they want, take it over, destroy it, and move on and say they're progressive.
But there's got to be a way to combat that.
It is. If
you got to do what Trump did.
You have to do it from the outside. You cannot do it from the inside.
You got to be a guy who's willing to burn it all
the
down.
The leader has to come out and say it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Listen, you got to do what Trump did on the right. You got to be willing to burn it all down, saying, "Hey, man, I'm not going to play your games." You know what I'm saying? Tulsi did have that rhetoric a little bit. She says, "I won't fit in their box," but you got to be willing to say, "You know what? I'm not going to support you.
Yeah.
I'm going to burn it all down." I'm taking over this party, and you're going to like it.
I'm not voting for the nominee. Guess what? I said I would. I'm not going to. Whatever the case is, that's
Johnny,
what we want.
Lou Wave says, why can't Pasta organize 10,000 people to protest the exit polls? Call Iverson, Nico, and JD. That's enough to start a national protest. Well, we did talk today about getting a guy who does the exit polls on our show to talk more about it. We're reaching out across the board, ladies and gentlemen, to election advocates on both sides. Believe it or not, there are a couple groups in the electoral activists where some are like open source, blockchain technology, different systems where there's hand counters, they kind of call them. And then you got guys like Breaky who are kind of a little bit of both. They just want transparency no matter what we use. So we're really trying to tackle this head on, guys. We're talking to so many people, even people who conflict on the same issue, but are out there in the field trying to get their word out. Jackie Pagao, thank you for the super chat contribution. Fam, she wants one of these. It's always appreciated on the couch. Jackie Pagao, proud Patreon supporter, wouldn't vote for Trump ever under any circumstances, or Biden. They are literally the same thing. Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, Jackie.
Hey, Jackie, do me a favor. We're waiting on some shirts. We got one for Carrie Mark. We're waiting on. It hasn't come in yet. But hit us on our email. Tell us your size and give us your address. And once we get these shirts in, once this pandemic allows these trucks to come through, we'll send you out a shirt. We know you are a proud Patreon supporter. Yeah, we can. But we haven't got some of our shirts yet from the guy because he can't take them to his shop because of social distancing. So so some shirts we have, some we do not have. He's starting to feed them to me. So I'm limited on sizes, but I do have a bunch of great. You had an awesome shirt on the other day, fam. We got your black one.
You're more excited about the shirt than I am, but thank you.
So earlier we were talking about how Bernie went, kind of a little bit identity politics, right?
Yeah.
So I look up Chuck Rocha. Mm-hmm. And the first things he's got on is hashtag Brown Consultants Matter.
Oh, yeah.
Pin tweet, Brown Consultants Matter.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's the virtue signal. It's the social justice movement.
Obviously, identities matter in a certain degree. Yeah, that you have issues that other people don't, etc. I can definitely agree to that. But when you make it the centerpiece without any economic backing, it just loses everything. You have to keep the economic backing.
And I'm a brown guy, and I'm like, what the fuck?
and yeah, exactly. And so it's just not a good team of people advising him. Again, I mean, we have to always look, it's the system. This is the system he was in. Tulsi had similar issues as well with her campaign. I mean, they are working within the constraints of an oligarchy. They are going to have to play by the system, which is why it's my belief now more than ever that we can't do it. We can't win within. They are literally setting up the rules. It's like playing chess against yourself. Like, you're never going to lose. You're always going to know what you're going to.
It's going to take
you have to do it outside of it. The opposite of Trump is as an outsider.
It's got to be
from the left.
I mean, you got to mirror him as far as the willingness to say, hey, you know what? I don't care. I will burn this shit down to the ground. It's my way or the highway. You've been robbing your people, and I'm here to take it back and support them and go the full distance with it. You know, and not for nothing. It's just, like I said, I think Bernie's ideology is great. And we played Bill Maher earlier. Let me tell you something, the story about Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders has been my favorite politician for a long, long time. I saw him on Bill Maher a long time ago. And when I first heard him, I thought he was the aardvark on the Pink Panther. Hey, little ant, you better get out of there. I'm going to get that ant. I'm like, no, that's Jackie Mason. But that's who Bernie Sanders sound like, a Jewish guy from Brooklyn. My peeps, I'm an Italian guy from New York, same area. And I known him for a long, long time, and he was on Bill Maher. But so many things have changed. Like you said, Bill Maher doesn't even take him serious no more. You know what I'm saying? And Bernie has never had the gumption to really go in there and do what's necessary to take over this party. To tell people within his own campaign that he's going to make certain moves despite them. You know what I'm saying? Because he has changed, and it's obvious that he's listened to the wrong people at times.
And they're so out of touch because they genuinely think like it's childish to not vote for Joe Biden over Trump. Yeah. And it's not. It's stupid to think that it has to be one or the other. Stop, like vilifying people for their vote. It hasn't even happened yet. Bernie Sanders is still in the race, and you have some of his surrogates acting like, oh yeah, well, you have to vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. He's still in the race. You're his surrogate. What the fuck are you doing?
That's different than us saying it, right, fam?
Yeah, it's different.
Totally
and I don't even say
it.
I even say he's still in the race. That's why I was so mad with the Tulsi endorsement.
But if I was working for Bernie Sanders, oh my God,
no,
fam.
that's a no-no.
Michael J. says, Rocha wasn't the problem. He tried to speak about voter suppression on Rising, but you could tell the campaign told him not to, and he self-censored.
So, yes.
I don't know if it was the campaign. It could be the establishment that told him not to. Let's be honest.
Look, no, honestly, he was talking about it more so than other people were. And not now. He was talking about it before. He went on Rising, and he retweeted our stuff. I mean, he was talking about it way more than
you talking about the Arizona stuff. That's what around that time. It was too late.
Honestly, but I think it's going to require more than talking about certain voting issues. It's got to be like, okay, guys, like we need to have lawyers on the ground. Obama had a lot of lawyers when he ran against Hillary Clinton. You needed to have that many lawyers on the ground, ready to pounce, ready to just threaten the establishment. And I know they had several in California, but I mean, it obviously wasn't enough to offset the rigging. I mean, we still won, but that's, like I said, the work of a lot of people. And like, frankly, we just needed to be prepared so much better with like knowing the law. They should have known. They shouldn't have said, oh no, Pasta, it's going to be fine. These people can vote they're not going to get a provisional ballot. That's what his director of the California was saying, Rafa Navarre. That's exactly what he said on video to Pasta. And that was entirely false.
And I tried to talk to him after.
And exactly. And Jeff Weber.
I went begging to them, guys.
Jeff Weber is honestly ultimately the issue. And as far as I know, but.
Well, you got anything else there, fam, before we close out the show? Johnny? Oh yeah.
I figure, we should just roast Biden. So I don't know how you can support a man when you see all this creepy shit.
Don't understand it? Right next to me. There you go. And then we're going to have...
There you go.
Daddy put his left hand in the Bible if he can. Lucky man.
He's having fun. Thank you, sir.
No serious guys. You should come here.
There we go.
Yeah.
On the back, you can spread out a little bit.
Look where his hands are.
You can hold the Bible.
She's like 13.
Hanging out.
His thumb is like right near her freaking...
Very good. Everybody else is looking forward to it.
He's just an idiot. Let's just all laugh when my child is getting molested.
That's it, Johnny? All right.
Let's just laugh while our children are getting molested, Johnny.
So listen, in these times right now, everything's going crazy. Rent is due, and we didn't get a freeze on rents, mortgages. Like I said from the get-go, this was an awful, awful fucking move. Hopefully they get back to Congress and they attempt to see what they can do as far as passing another stimulus bill when they have no leverage. Well, let's see what they can do. Nancy Pelosi's evil. So tomorrow we're going to have on the show at 4 p.m. We went from noon to 4 p.m. Elena Pop, and she runs a group that says it's about the eviction rights in California. So she's going to explain to us what's going on in California, what the governor has done, because we also have to speak about the money that was given to Governor Newsom from the federal government as far as the CARES Act and what he spends it on. Is he going to spend that money on helping out corporations with their rent and their other things, or is he going to extend the olive branch to the people? You know what I'm saying? So we have to talk about that area, what your rights are, what you have to do, know exactly what's going on, what money the governor is going to have and what he's in charge of. And then you can also look up in your city. Remember, it's city and counties that make the different laws. Pasadena, Los Angeles, Azusa, Arcadia, all those places you got to call, and you can contact your city council, see what they have up on their website and see what they say, because a lot of people went in session and they talked about what they can possibly do. So tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific time, Elena Pop will be on us and we'll answer all those questions. It's going to be a very, very important show because I know, fam, that I'm scared as shit about the rent. So
the rent is too damn high.
It is, and what are we supposed to do? Give up that money for rent and not have any money for food and resources? If things are as bad as you say they're going to be, fam, I am not giving up my schedule for anything other than food because I have 2 weeks of storage, right?
2 weeks of storage. I
Left
said
in my
you
gut.
could go without food, but I met everybody. I met every human. I didn't just mean pasta.
Yeah. Me, I got 3 weeks. I got 3 weeks if you look at my stomach. Too much pasta on this quarantine. For Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella.
Johnny Sue on the ones and twos.
Stop
Eva
feeding
and
us
boom.
pasta.
Boom, boom.
Give it to somebody else. Give it to Jimmy.
4 p.m. tomorrow.
Combo out.